You missed some important news from the LGBTQ plus community this week. To ensure you are current, we are recapping that important news. Here's what you may have missed.
Dylan Mulvaney causes a stir as spokesperson for Bud Light and Nike. Major brands are now increasingly partnering with transgender actors and influencers in their ad campaigns, with massive support from the LGBTQ plus community and its allies. However, brands like Bud Light and Nike have come under fire for featuring trans influencers like Dylan Mulvaney in the face of growing anti-trans hate and legislation. Mulvaney's posts were flooded with aggressive comments and threats to boycott the companies. Countless videos appeared online throwing Bud Light beer into the trash and pouring it down the drain. Despite often being the targets of criticism from online trolls and conservative public figures, advertising shows no sign of slowing down in trans representation and continues to symbolize allyship. Transgender representation in advertising has come a long way over the decades since subtle, queer-coded messaging first began popping up 40 years ago, when marketers described it as our little secret in the 1990s. However, as anti-trans discrimination persists and transgender people continue to be targeted in America's political culture wars, progressive companies and trans brand representatives face conservative condemnation.
What it is for me that I don't like is the fact that this Dylan seems to be mocking, playing a woman. You know, the dancing around like a little girl, the over-the-top sort of impersonation of a young woman. I find it offensive. I really do find it offensive. If you're a transgender woman, it seems like Dylan is acting.
Well, I mean, they've had this kind of whole account that has blown up over in the US, particularly over TikTok and Instagram. Their kind of whole everyday posting about their journey, their discovery of themselves the last year, and it's got them seen by presidents and everyone. So it's completely understand why kind of Nike are actually thinking, hey, this is a good opportunity for us to get on that bandwagon of publicity. They've got millions of followers. So it's clearly people are following them who like what Dylan is doing.
Okay, this is about being inclusive. I think she looks fabulous. She could represent Nike, Bud Light, anybody she wants. I'd be very okay with that. You know, it's only, people are afraid of what they don't understand. So a lot of people who are like, oh no, that shouldn't be on there, and this and that. Calm down. You just don't understand what it is, nor do you want to accept it, because you've probably had some kind of religion thrown down and forced down your throat. So now you're, oh no, it's taboo. Sinner. We're not sinners.
Well, somebody must have called for toilet paper because Ted Nugent and Kid Rock came rolling in, and it's like, no, there are these has-beens, and yet they have this platform, and they're out there making fuss. Kid Rock shooting up the cans of the beer. It's like, what's the point?
That's the stupidest thing ever.
America is full of this response that we're watching to Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light specifically. We watched it in the 1940s in our response to Japanese Americans and fear, and it forced us in our fear to do things that years later we just horribly regretted that we did. If Bud Light ran a commercial on television with a black man or a black woman drinking that Bud Light exactly the same way as this trans person, large parts of the South would be burning if they would have done that. Today, you wouldn't think twice about that. That's an example of education. If a gay person in 1974 was in Dylan Mulvaney's Bud Light commercial, it would have shocked large sections of America. And today, a gay man in a commercial drinking a Bud Light wouldn't even raise an eyebrow. It's an indication of as we become educated and as we become more comfortable, it helps us to change and realize, wait, it's not a boogeyman. really what the boogeyman here is going on. And I want to say her name again, Dylan Mulvaney. I watched your commercial of you drinking Bud Light. It was so awkward watching, and I loved it because it was so unnatural for Dylan Mulvaney. She's not a beer drinker, but she's embracing it. And it was so charming to watch, because not that I don't like Bud Light, and not that I have to like Dylan Mulvaney, but it was a beautiful moment for us to all watch. And let's be patient enough to let everyone else catch up to us. You know where the real problem is? It's the Kid Rock is the real problem.
Yeah.
And you know what he represents? And I sit in this bucket. Older, privileged, white man. That's our problem here. He takes a machine gun, which is much larger than his penis, and shoots up the Bud Light. And it's a representation of his masculinity to do it. And it's just an example of these older, privileged white men holding on by their fingertips to a past that is never coming back to you again. And you're going to pass these kind of laws, and you're going to throw young black men out of your state houses. Or if that doesn't succeed, you're going to join the Proud Boys. And if that doesn't succeed, you're going to pick up a gun and walk into a school and kill people.
We said education, but it's also evolution. And that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of change. They're afraid of evolution. That's what it is.
Yeah, and the Kid Rocks of the world and his ilk are people that, again, are coming out against someone like Dylan Mulvaney and saying you're less than. And these are people, again, using Kid Rock as an example, who certainly is less than most men in America, and it should not be held up or even highlighted his ignorance on social media. I hate even doing stories like this because it just brings more attention to these people. But it's people that are treating, whether it's women, trans, LGBTQ, black,
minority,
as you're not a full person. You don't get to do what I get to do in this world, and that's really the message. It's my privilege.
That's privilege. And one last thought, because we have to move on. Once upon a time I wouldn't have said this. 20 years ago, I don't even think I could have understood the conceptual thought that goes through my head. Our world would be a lot better off if in America we paid much more attention to many other places in the world. Women running our governments are generally better than our toxic, masculine, white men running our government. Yeah. Now, I know we can't get to that in America, and I know that there are so many complicated issues here, but if we would at least consider that concept, we would begin to pull away this toxic masculinity we have. And if you're not in that club, I'm in that club. I'm okay. I'll be okay. But if you're not in that club, that's why women should be paying attention to this. People of color should be paying attention to this. Jewish people should be paying attention to this. Religious minorities should be paying attention to this. And LGBT should be paying attention to it. Because until older, privileged, white face catches up with what's going on in the world, you better get out there and vote, and you better get out there and lead. That's where we're at.
I would like to add one little quick final note. If we really wanted to act, against the Kid Rocks and the Travis Tritts, because there's a whole list of them that are very disappointed with these companies. So we do what we did to R. Kelly. Mute them. You hit them in the pocket. We are not streaming you. Guess what? You are not getting money. You're not getting royalties. That is the thing that I have an education in, is my background in music. We don't need to stream you. You don't need our money. Guess what? We have a lot more money than you do. Good luck.
Keep watching the only television news in the world from our LGBTQ plus community, and stay informed on everything that is important for and about our diverse LGBTQ plus community.